Well, this is a bit of a divergence from Healey's and MGA's, but this is my 1927 Morris Oxford, and it's an Empire Oxford, a 15.9 Empire Oxford. Very rare car. The reason I'm filming this today on a Saturday is that tomorrow on the Sunday we have the Bay to Birdwood classic car and vintage car run here in South Australia, which goes from West Beach down by the ocean up into Birdwood up in the hills, which is the National Motor Museum. I've had this car for around about, I suppose, 25-30 years. This is my first attempt at restoration, and I pulled it off a farm out here in the country, and there was nothing really but a chassis, and I completely rebuilt it, and I've had it ever since. We've done quite a few runs with it. It's, as I said, it's a very rare car. They only made 1,700 of them. There are about probably 6 left in the world, including this one. There are 2 others that I know of in Australia that run, and I think there's probably about 3 or 4 in the UK. They never sold very well here, and they were sent back to England and made into taxi cabs. So this is the 613th one made from a total of about 1,700, and you have to excuse the engine condition because it really needs reworking. It's, as I say, it's been about 25 years since it was restored, so it really needs taking out and repainting. As you can see, it runs a magneto ignition there, a Lucas GA4. The rest of it's pretty straightforward. This little gadget here is a tyre pump, believe it or not, and you run a tube from that to a tyre if you get a flat, and that's activated by that little knob there on the front, which you push in, and it pumps. In fact, if I can do it and hold the camera, there she goes. Okay, that's how it works. Interesting little gadget. These cars were made for overseas conditions, mainly Australia. Some went to New Zealand, some went to South Africa, I think. That's the Autovac cutting in. That's why the engine changes its tone. I'll show you the Autovac. The Autovac is a vacuum fuel pump. American cars have them. I think Stuart Warner made them. There's the English version of the Autovac there, and it runs on a very, very clever little float system. A bit hard to describe, but there are 2 canisters, one inside the other, and it uses vacuum from the engine to draw fuel up from the rear-mounted fuel tank. The car runs a single SU, a single brass SU, which is specific to this car, and in fact it has the serial number EO, which stands for Empire Oxford, which is what these cars were called. It's 21-inch wheels. Again, all the other Morrises had 19 or 20-inch wheels. The battery's supposed to be under the seat, and it used to be, but I got sick of moving the seat to check it, so I made up these boxes and put it in. I'll just turn the engine off for a minute. It's a bit better, a bit quieter. The 21-inch wheels. The diff is an overhead worm drive diff, and this car has a 4-speed box, which can be seen just down there. It looks like a gate change. It's not actually a gate, it's just that it locates in those slots. So that's probably going to be interesting to anybody who watches this who has one of these cars, because as I say, they are very, very rare. I'm hoping that nothing serious goes wrong with this, because they're difficult to find parts for. I did have a big end bearing that ran on one of the Bay to Birdwoods a few years ago, and I got the car home and stripped it down and actually poured another bearing myself, and made a mould, made it fit onto the crankshaft, and then used some engineer's blue and scraped it in, and so far, touch wood, I haven't had any issues with that bearing. It sounds easy if you say it quickly, doesn't it? But there she is, and anybody who watches this who has one of these cars, if you'd like to send me a message, I'd be very interested in meeting anybody else or talking to anybody else who owns one of these, because there are very few of us around. There used to be another one in Adelaide, but I haven't seen that for a long time. So yeah, there she is. She's a good old girl. Let's hope she's a good old girl tomorrow.